So here you would say the title of your study, your name, class, the course number, and then tell me your research problem. So why is this a problem that needs to be studied, and give 2 citations. And I know I've told a couple of you that I'm not concerned if the citations aren't exactly right. Just I want you to know that you need to back any assertions that you have up with citations. So if you're saying that this is a problem, you need to have some evidence from the literature that supports your claim that this is a problem that needs to be studied. Okay, so the research purpose in question, the purpose of the study is to, so forth. And then research question, I only want one, and if you're going to do a comparison, is there a difference in the dependent variable by the independent variable? And I'll give you an example of that. If you're looking at correlation, or if you're going to do a prediction, you'd say, is there a relationship between X and Y, or does X predict Y? And then one thing I don't have here, but if you wanted to do something with chi-squares, it's somewhere in between comparison and correlation. So if you're looking at the independence of 2 populations, or if you're looking at the association of 2 populations, you would run a test of independence or a test of association, which is the same thing. It just has to do with how you phrase your research question. Okay, so the population and the sample. So the population is the big group that you want to generalize your findings back to. So all adult females, all graduate students in laboratory sciences, all COVID-19 positive patients, etc. And then the sample are the group whose data are represented in your study. So I have an N of 45 adult females, or 150 lab science grad students, or 10 COVID-19 positive patients, etc. And then your data analysis, you're going to state your analysis that you will use to test your question and why you're using it. And then you're going to show the results. You can just paste. You can do it with APA tables if you want to be fancy, or you can just paste your output. I'm not going to be particular about it, but make sure you have the right evidence to show. And I do want you to write it up like we've done all along. So if you're writing the results of a t-test, I want you to write it like I've showed you how to write the results of a t-test, or an ANOVA, where you state the F statistic and the degrees of freedom, what the value is, and give the effect sizes and such. And then your conclusion. So in the light of your results, state why you think you found what you found. And typically in a real paper, you would go back and you would kind of look back at the literature and give evidence from the literature to support your claims. But we're not going to be that fancy for this. I just want you to go through the process of doing a very tiny research study. Okay, so this particular student looked at the students' use of metacognitive reading strategies and retention in higher education. Okay, so retention in higher ed is considered if a student goes from freshman year to sophomore year, they've been retained, which is a good thing. And whether or not they use these metacognitive reading strategies, whether or not it helped. Okay, so the problem, the ability to read university level texts and use higher order thinking skills that also involve self-regulation, known as metacognition, is a crucial academic skill that the majority of university students lack. Although there are other varied retention efforts nationwide, should be wide, metacognition and reading strategies are often not addressed through courses or academic support programs, and here's the evidence. The purpose of this study is to determine if there is a difference in the level of use of metacognitive reading strategies and retention rates in undergraduate university students. So the research question is there a difference in number of metacognitive reading strategies used and retention? So now I know there's a difference, so I'm going to be looking for something with an independent variable where there's groups, and a dependent variable where there's some sort of outcome measure that we're looking at. And here it would be metacognitive reading strategies. So the population, undergraduate students in the first year at university, entering from high school or community college, those are the population to which I want to generalize my findings back to. And then my sample are 57 students from a university's freshman seminar course called Learning Frameworks. So this particular student used an instrument to measure the metacognitive reading strategies. You guys will use something like level of antigens or whatever it is that you're looking at. So you may not need an instrument section, but this student is using a survey to quantify the number of metacognitive reading strategies. So you won't necessarily need this slide. All right, so here's her data analysis. Now typically you would want it to be to match her question. She really wants to know to predict whether or not they were retained or left. But she's doing it, she's comparing the difference of retained and not retained and the number of reading strategies used as the dependent variable. So she's kind of got it backwards, but that's okay. So the T test performed. So the T of her degrees of freedom is 55, because of 57 minus 2 for the two groups. She gets is negative 1.3, which is a small T value, so she does not have significance. And she said there is no difference in student retention based on the number of metacognitive reading strategies used. The null hypothesis is not rejected, and this is possibly due to the fact that the number of strategies isn't as important as the type of strategy that has been used. And it's just basically that simple. Okay, and one thing I want to show you is the where to find these documents. Alright, so if you go to Final Project here, so here we are at the course, I'm in the course documents page, but it's all here. If I just go straight to Final Project, you see that I have some things here that you can't see. If I click here, I can open the document that you just saw, the PowerPoint that you just saw, and then here's the document. And then this is the assignment, and here is how you're going to be graded. Completeness, the research problem, the purpose and research question, just that they're all there and clear and aligned. The population sample data analysis, 10 points per, and then the results and conclusions, 20 points per. Okay, if you have questions about this, or if you want to do something slightly different that doesn't quite fit this, that's fine. Just give me and shoot me an email and we can talk about that. You will find that. There was one other thing I wanted to show you. Let me see if I can find it. Alright, let's go to course documents for the week of week 12. Alright. I'm posting a website here called Which Stats Test, and it's a nice nifty little website where it takes you through a series of questions. If you're not sure what type of data analysis you should do, you could use this and it'll kind of take you there before we talk if you have any questions for me. So what is the purpose of your analysis? If you want to look for a difference or if you want to look for an association. Let's look at differences. Click next. And so how many groups are you comparing? 2 or more than 2? Let's say more than 2. Let me say next. Are your data matched or unmatched? Meaning, are they paired? Or are they independent? Okay, so we're going to say unmatched. I'm going to say next. Now, which measurement is your outcome variable? So that's the one we're trying to determine if there's a difference between. So I would say interval or ratio. Click next. Are your data normally distributed? We're just going to assume yes. Say yes, unless we have a tiny little sample. So we'd say one-way ANOVA. Based on your answers, that seems the most appropriate is a one-way ANOVA, and this will give you all kinds of information, but we have plenty of information in the Blackboard site. So that's posted here, and I'll have this video that I'm making right now posted just below it. Okay.